The discovery of the suspicious message. The message was from a woman named Elena. I froze as I read the words, my hands trembling. Can't wait to see you tonight. I miss you so much. I never thought my life could unravel so quickly. I always believed I had the perfect marriage. My husband, Alex, was charming, successful, and, at least on the surface, completely devoted to me. We had been married for 7 years, and like most wives, I trusted him blindly. But everything I thought I knew about him was a lie. It all started on an ordinary Thursday morning. I was sipping my coffee, scrolling through my phone, when I noticed a message notification pop up on Alex's tablet. It was lying on the kitchen counter. Normally, I wouldn't even glance at his devices. I respected his privacy, but something, maybe a premonition, maybe intuition, made me look. The message was from a woman named Elena. I froze as I read the words, my hands trembling. Can't wait to see you tonight. I miss you so much. My heart stopped. My mind refused to believe it. I stared at the screen over and over, as if by staring harder, I could convince myself it wasn't real. I remember the exact moment the panic set in. My chest tightened. Thoughts raced like a stampede of wild horses. Who was Elena? How long had this been going on? Could it be just a harmless flirtation, a meaningless text? Deep down, I already knew the answer. I waited for Alex to come downstairs, pretending nothing was wrong. But when he did, I couldn't keep it in any longer. My voice shook as I asked, "Who's Elena?" He froze, a flicker of guilt crossing his face, but it was brief. He tried to laugh it off, saying, "Oh, just someone from work. Don't worry about it." But I did worry. I worried more than I ever thought possible. Something in my gut screamed that this wasn't just a work acquaintance. That night, Alex seemed distant, distracted. He kept glancing at his phone, and every time it buzzed, my heart sank a little further. A week passed, and my anxiety only grew. I started noticing little things. The lingering scent of a perfume I didn't recognize, subtle changes in his routine, a sudden interest in staying late at work. I was walking on eggshells, trying to catch him in a lie without letting him know I suspected anything. But my heart was heavy, and every day felt like a slow, torturous weight. Then, one evening, the truth hit me like a thunderbolt. I came home early from a client meeting. Alex was supposed to be working late, but when I opened the door, the house was quiet. Too quiet. My instinct told me to check his study. And that's when I saw it, a laptop, left open, with a chat window blinking. And there it was. Elena. This time, the messages weren't innocent. They were filled with promises, longing, and words I never expected to see in my marriage. I love you. I need you. I can't wait until we're alone again. I felt a wave of nausea, anger, and heartbreak all at once. I wanted to scream, to throw the laptop across the room, to confront him right then and there. But instead, I closed the laptop quietly and left the study, my mind racing. I needed a plan. I couldn't confront him blindly. Not yet. I had to know the truth, every detail, before I let him see the storm in my eyes. And so, I began my own investigation. I checked his emails, his messages, and slowly, piece by piece, a picture started to form. He wasn't just texting Elena. He was seeing her, frequently. And worse, he had been lying to me for months. Every discovery made my chest feel heavier, my stomach tighter. But amid the pain, a part of me felt alive. There was something empowering about knowing the truth, even if it was horrifying. I started keeping a detailed record: dates, times, suspicious calls, and receipts. Each little piece of evidence felt like ammunition. Then came the night. I nearly confronted him. He returned home later than usual, smiling, pretending like nothing had changed. I forced myself to remain calm, to greet him with a casual, "Hey, how was work?" Inside, I was screaming. I wanted to throw the evidence at him, to demand answers, to see him crumble under the weight of his own lies. But I didn't. I smiled through the pain, knowing that patience was my secret weapon. And that's when the first seed of revenge planted itself in my mind. Not a petty revenge, like screaming in public or embarrassing him. No, I wanted something far more precise, far more devastating. I wanted him to realize what he had lost, what he had betrayed, and I wanted the world to know the truth, not just him. But first, I had to survive the storm. I had to act normal, to play the role of the unsuspecting wife, all while my heart shattered a little more each day. I couldn't tell anyone yet, not my friends, not my family, because once the word got out, Alex would know I was onto him. I needed evidence, concrete proof. And that's when I noticed something odd. Elena wasn't just a random fling. She wasn't just someone from work. There were hints that pointed to something deeper, something more twisted. And as I traced Alex's steps over the past few months, I realized the truth wasn't just about a cheating husband. It was about a secret that would shock everyone if it ever came to light. I remember the night I found the first clue, something small, seemingly insignificant, but it set my entire plan into motion. A forgotten lipstick in the laundry, a receipt for a hotel I had never heard of, a name whispered in a voicemail. Every tiny detail was like a puzzle piece, and for the first time in months, my mind raced with anticipation instead of fear. Little did I know, what I was about to uncover would change everything, not just my marriage, but the lives of everyone around us. And when the truth finally came out, it would leave everyone in shock. I sat on the edge of my bed that night, staring at the ceiling, thinking about Alex, about Elena, about betrayal, and about the path I was about to walk. I knew I was stepping into dangerous territory, but I also knew I couldn't turn back. Not now. Not ever. Because some truths, once discovered, can't be ignored. And some betrayals demand more than just tears. They demand justice. And I was ready to find it. But what I found next was more horrifying than anything I could have imagined. The wife's reaction and suspicion. I waited for Alex to come downstairs, pretending nothing was wrong. But when he did, I couldn't keep it in any longer. My voice shook as I asked, "Who's Elena?" The next morning, I woke up with a plan forming in my mind, sharp and dangerous, like a knife ready to cut through the lies. I couldn't confront Alex directly, not yet. I needed proof. I needed a way to expose him so he couldn't weasel out of it with excuses. I started following his routine more closely. I learned the rhythm of his days. The mornings he left early. The nights he claimed he was working late. The moments he tried to hide his phone from me. Every little habit became a clue. Every small lie a thread I could pull until the whole tangled web unraveled. It wasn't easy. Pretending to be the unsuspecting wife while secretly investigating your own husband is exhausting. But I kept going. I installed a discreet tracking app on his car, checked his credit card statements under the guise of household budgeting, and even pretended to be interested in his work projects so I could listen when he spoke about them. Each day, I gathered more evidence, and each day, the betrayal cut deeper. Then came the night that changed everything. Alex came home later than usual, his tie loosened, eyes bright but tired. I greeted him with a casual, "Long day." Inside my chest, my heart was pounding. He shrugged, smiling, and dropped his keys on the counter. "I had to finish a project," he said. "Nothing serious. Just a lot of paperwork." But I wasn't fooled. I followed him quietly, pretending to prepare dinner, while I saw him slip a small envelope into his jacket pocket. My stomach sank. I didn't need to see the contents yet. I knew that envelope was another piece of his betrayal. Days later, I finally found the courage to snoop while he was at the gym. I retrieved the envelope from his jacket and opened it slowly, almost afraid of what I might find. Inside were photographs, Alex and Elena, together in a cafe, laughing, touching, looking like lovers completely oblivious to the world. I stared at them for what felt like hours, my hands shaking, my chest tight. It was undeniable. He wasn't just cheating emotionally. He was meeting her, spending time with her, hiding it all from me. And worse, the dates on the photos told me he had been seeing her for months. Months I had thought were filled with love, trust, and safety. I felt a rage building inside me, a dangerous fire I couldn't ignore. I wanted to confront him, scream, throw the photos at him, but I held back. Patience was my weapon. I wanted him to feel the consequences of his betrayal in full, undeniable clarity. But then came a moment that stopped me cold. One evening, as I was reviewing the photos again, I noticed something I hadn't seen before. In the background of one of the pictures was a familiar logo on a building. It wasn't a random cafe. It was a clinic, and not just any clinic. It was a fertility clinic. I froze. My mind raced. Was Alex having an affair with someone who was pregnant? Or worse, planning something that would destroy the life we built? I had no answers yet, just questions that twisted around my chest like barbed wire. The next day, I decided to take a bold step. I called one of Alex's colleagues, pretending to be concerned about a work-related project. Carefully, I steered the conversation toward his recent activities outside work, trying to see if anyone else had noticed anything unusual. And then, the first real shock came. His colleague hesitated, then said, "You know, I did see Alex a few times with Elena. At first, I thought it was business, but it didn't seem professional. He was very secretive." My heart sank. Not only was he cheating, but it wasn't even subtle. People around us had noticed, and yet he had managed to hide it from me. He had been living a double life, right under my nose. I tried to act normal when he came home that evening. I made small talk, laughed at his jokes, even asked about his day, all while my mind was calculating the next move. But Alex was acting strange too. He seemed more nervous than usual, constantly glancing at his phone, his smile tighter, his words clipped. That night, as we got ready for bed, I asked casually, "Anything interesting happen at work today?" He hesitated, pounding so hard I thought it might burst. Every turn he took, every street he drove down, I held my breath, praying I wasn't too late. And then I saw them. Elena waiting outside a small, upscale hotel, Alex's car pulling up. My hands shook as I snapped pictures, making sure to capture every detail. Their laughter, their kisses, their hands intertwined. It was all there, irrefutable, undeniable. I felt a mix of rage, heartbreak, and a strange sense of relief. I had been right all along. My husband was a liar, a cheat, a man who had betrayed my trust in the worst possible way. But just as I was about to drive away and plan my next move, I saw something that made me stop cold. Elena wasn't just smiling at Alex. She was holding something in her hand, something that made my blood run cold. It was a small envelope, similar to the one I had found in Alex's jacket, but the logo on it. It was the same fertility clinic from the photos. And I realized in that instant that whatever secret Alex had been hiding, it was far more twisted, far more dangerous than simple infidelity. My hands tightened on the steering wheel. I knew, without a doubt, that the truth I was about to uncover would not only destroy my marriage, it would shock everyone who thought they knew our lives. And I also knew one thing. I couldn't stop now, because the next step would change everything. The beginning of the investigation. I needed a plan. I couldn't confront him blindly, not yet. I had to know the truth, every detail, before I let him see the storm in my eyes. I couldn't sleep that night. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw Alex and Elena together, laughing, touching, living a life I had thought was ours. But that envelope, the one Elena had in her hand, kept looping in my mind. What could it contain? What secret was Alex hiding that was bigger than this affair? The next morning, I forced myself to act normal. Breakfast was a silent affair. Alex chatted about work, pretending nothing had happened, while I smiled politely, all the while my mind spinning with theories. I needed answers. I needed to know what was inside that envelope before I confronted him. So I decided to do the unthinkable. I called the fertility clinic. I pretended to be a patient, asking about their services, about recent clients in a casual, seemingly innocent tone. The receptionist was polite but cautious, giving vague answers. But then I asked about appointments under Alex's last name, and that's when she hesitated. "I'm sorry," she said carefully, "but patient information is confidential." My heart raced. Confidential? That could only mean something serious. I pressed further, carefully, subtly. I mentioned the name Elena, the address, the envelope I had seen. The receptionist's voice dropped to a whisper. "Ma'am, I really can't give out personal information, but..." The pause was enough. My suspicion grew. Whatever Alex and Elena were involved in, it wasn't just a fling. It wasn't just a betrayal. It was something deliberate, something premeditated. And I had no idea how deep it went. I knew I had to act fast. I couldn't let them cover their tracks. So I started digging. I checked Alex's bank statements, his recent transactions. And then I found it. A series of payments, significant sums, all going to the same address as the fertility clinic. My stomach churned. The truth hit me in a wave of disbelief and horror. Alex wasn't just cheating. He was planning something behind my back, something calculated. My mind raced with the possibilities, each one worse than the last. Was Elena pregnant? Had Alex arranged something I didn't even know about? And why? I realized that confronting him without knowing the full truth would be a mistake. I needed absolute proof. I needed to understand the full scope of his betrayal before I let him see the storm I was ready to unleash. Days passed in a haze of fear, anger, and suspicion. I followed Alex more closely, noting every call, every meeting, every sudden change in his schedule. My detective work was painstaking, but I couldn't stop. Every day brought more pieces of the puzzle. Then came the breakthrough. One evening, I was going through his emails he thought I couldn't access. And there it was. A series of messages between him and Elena, but also emails with a third person, someone anonymous. They discussed dates, plans, and payments. They discussed something about a transfer and preparation. My heart dropped. What was Alex planning? What were they preparing? And why was I completely in the dark about it? My hands trembled as I read each line over and over, trying to make sense of the cryptic language. It was clear that this wasn't just about a secret relationship. It was something bigger, something that could ruin everything. I knew I had to confront him, but I had to be smart. I couldn't let my emotions take over. I had to catch him in the act, to force him to reveal the truth without giving him a chance to lie or manipulate the story. So I made a plan. I would follow him again, but this time, I wouldn't just observe. I would find the moment when the secret was revealed. I would gather evidence that no one could deny. The night came. Alex left the house, claiming he had to pick up a work document from a client. I followed him, keeping my distance, heart pounding in my chest. The streets were quiet, the city lights reflecting off the wet pavement. I watched as he parked near an unfamiliar building. And there she was, Elena, waiting. But this time, it wasn't a casual meeting. There was urgency in their gestures, secrecy in their movements. They slipped inside a small office building, and I followed, careful to remain unseen. Inside, I saw them exchanging documents, papers that looked official, professional, not just casual love notes. My stomach churned. This was more than cheating. This was planning. Planning for something that would affect me, our lives, everything I had built. I was about to step closer to get a better look when a shadow fell across my path. Someone else was there. A man I hadn't noticed before, watching Alex and Elena closely. His presence made everything worse. This wasn't just a secret affair. It was a conspiracy, a plot. And I had no idea how far it went. I backed away, heart racing, knowing I had to leave before they noticed me. But one thought stayed in my mind. The truth. I had to uncover it. I had to expose Alex and Elena, no matter the cost. That night, I sat in my car for hours, staring at the building, my hands shaking. My mind replayed every moment of betrayal, every lie, every secret. I realized something terrifying. Alex had been living a double life for longer than I had imagined. And whatever he and Elena were planning, it was dangerous, and it could ruin everything I loved. I knew I was in too deep to turn back. My life, my marriage, my very sense of self depended on what I would do next. I had to confront him, but not like a wife scorned. I had to be precise, calculated, ruthless. And then it hit me, the most horrifying realization of all. Alex wasn't just cheating on me. He was using me. Every lie, every deception, every fake smile was part of a larger plan. A plan I didn't understand yet, but one that I was determined to uncover. The next morning, Alex walked into the house, smiling, as if nothing had changed. I greeted him with a calm voice, hiding the storm that raged inside me. "Everything okay?" he asked casually. I nodded, my lips curling into a faint smile. Yes, everything's fine. But inside, I was ready. I had uncovered the betrayal, the affair, the secret meetings. And now, I was determined to uncover the full truth, no matter how shocking it would be. Because what I discovered next would not only break my heart, it would shatter the lives of everyone around us. And when the truth finally came out, no one would be prepared for what it revealed. The following days were unbearable. I tried to maintain a normal routine, but every time I saw Alex, every time he smiled or laughed casually, I felt bile rising in my throat. The evidence I had collected was damning, but it still didn't explain the full picture. That envelope, those secret payments, the fertility clinic. There was something more, something I couldn't yet put my finger on. I knew I had to get closer. I had to find out what Alex and Elena were planning before it was too late. So I started taking bolder steps. I tracked their schedules, monitored their emails, and even checked security footage near the clinic, pretending to be concerned about a neighbor's car. Every little detail I uncovered made my stomach twist tighter. Then came the breakthrough, the moment when everything changed. One evening, I intercepted a text from Elena to Alex. It was short, almost casual, but the words sent a shiver down my spine. Make sure she doesn't find out before it's ready. Tonight is crucial. My hands trembled as I read it. Crucial? I whispered to myself. What was so important that they had to hide it from me at all costs? My mind raced through every possibility, each one more terrifying than the last. That night, I decided to follow Alex and Elena one more time. But this time, I was determined to catch them in the act of whatever secret they were hiding. I parked in the shadows, heart pounding, as they arrived at a private house on the outskirts of the city, a place I had never seen before. I watched from a distance as they slipped inside. The windows were dark, and there was no sound of laughter this time. No casual conversation. Just hushed whispers, urgent movements, and the faint rustle of paper. My hands shook. The betrayal cut deeper than I could have imagined. Every lie, every smile, every act of kindness from him over the past months now felt like a mockery. He had been planning this behind my back, manipulating everyone, including me, to serve his selfish desires. And then I noticed something even more shocking. Among the files and charts were documents that weren't just about pregnancies. They were about legal arrangements, wills, and transfers of property. My home, our bank accounts, our assets. All potentially being redirected in preparation for a life with Elena and the child. My mind raced. He hadn't just betrayed me emotionally. He was trying to erase me from my own life. I backed away slowly, heart pounding, tears streaming down my face. I had to process this. I had to be smart. I couldn't just storm in and confront him, not yet. I needed proof, evidence that no one could dispute, and I needed a plan. A plan that would make him regret every second of his betrayal. Over the next few days, I worked tirelessly. I documented everything, took photos of the files, the charts, the ultrasound images, and even recorded snippets of conversations when possible. My heart ached, but my resolve hardened. This wasn't just about revenge. It was about survival, about taking back control of my life. Then came the night of the confrontation. I had everything I needed, the evidence, the timeline, the proof that Alex's betrayal wasn't just emotional but calculated, cold, and premeditated. I waited until he returned home late from a supposed meeting. And then I blocked his path in the living room. "Alex," I said, my voice trembling but firm, "we need to talk." "No." He froze, caught off guard. For the first time in months, I saw fear flicker in his eyes. "What? What is this about?" he asked, trying to sound casual, but his voice betrayed him. I stepped closer, holding the photos and documents. "Do you think I'm stupid? Do you think I don't know about Elena? About the clinic, the payments, the plans you've been hiding from me?" He opened his mouth to speak, but I cut him off. "Don't. Don't even try to lie. I have everything. Every secret. Every detail. I know what you've been doing behind my back. And I know what you've been planning." His face paled. He took a step back, searching for an escape. I can explain." "Explain?" I laughed bitterly, tears streaming down my face. "Explain how you planned a life with her while pretending to love me? Explain how you tried to manipulate everyone, including me, to serve your selfish desires?" He didn't answer. There was nothing he could say. I had uncovered the full scope of his betrayal, and he knew it. And then I delivered the final blow. I pulled out the last piece of evidence, the envelope Elena had carried the night I followed them, the one linked to the fertility clinic. Inside were documents that proved not only her pregnancy plans, but also Alex's intent to legally secure their future while sidelining me. His face drained of color. You can't." "I can," I said, my voice steady now, filled with a cold determination. "And I will. You thought you could hide this from me, control everything, and escape unscathed. But you underestimated me. You underestimated the woman you betrayed." Alex tried to reach for me, to grab the papers, but I held them tight, my hands shaking with anger and adrenaline. "This ends now," I said. "You will face the consequences of every lie, every betrayal, and everyone will know the truth." He looked at me, finally seeing the woman he had underestimated for years. The woman who had quietly gathered every piece of evidence, who had endured heartbreak, who had watched and waited, and who was now ready to reclaim her life. And in that moment, I realized something powerful. Betrayal can break a heart, but it can also awaken a fire that no lie, no deception, no betrayal can ever extinguish. Alex didn't know it yet, but his life and ours was about to change forever, because I wasn't just going to confront him. I was going to ensure that everyone knew the truth, and when they did, he would regret ever betraying me. The next morning, I woke with a clarity I hadn't felt in months. The betrayal, the lies, the heartbreak, it was all still there, but it no longer paralyzed me. Now I had power, knowledge, evidence, and most importantly, a plan. I decided to confront Alex publicly, not in front of strangers, but in front of those whose opinions and respect mattered the most. I wanted him to feel the full weight of his actions, to watch as the truth unraveled not just in private, but in the eyes of those who had believed in him, who had trusted him, who had admired him. I invited Alex to a dinner at my parents' house. He thought it was a normal family gathering. He smiled, kissed my cheek, and said, Everything okay, honey? I smiled back, hiding the storm within. Perfectly fine, I said, my voice calm measured. When we arrived, everyone greeted us warmly. My parents, my friends, even a few neighbors who respected our marriage. And then, as dessert was being served, I stood up. Silence fell. I held the folder containing every piece of evidence. The photos, the messages, the documents from the fertility clinic, even the envelope Elena had carried. I have something I need to share, I said, my voice steady. Alex froze, panic flashing across his face. He knew. He had known for days that I was ready. I opened the folder and began showing the evidence, one piece at a time. The messages, the photos, the payments, the documents. Each revelation landed like a hammer blow. Everyone in the room stared at him in shock. My parents, who had always trusted him, were speechless. My friends whispered, their eyes wide. And Alex. He was speechless too. He tried to speak, to explain, to deny. But there was no defense strong enough. Every word I spoke, every document I showed, stripped away his lies, exposing the truth. Alex, I said, voice rising with controlled fury, for months, you've been living a double life. You lied to me, betrayed me, and tried to manipulate everyone around you. And you thought you could hide it? You thought I wouldn't find out? He opened his mouth, but I cut him off. No explanations. No excuses. You chose Elena over me. You chose deception over honesty. And now, everyone knows the truth. The room was silent, except for my voice and the sound of Alex's panic breathing. I watched as the man I once loved crumbled under the weight of his own actions. The charming, confident husband I had trusted was gone, replaced by a man who was exposed, vulnerable, and utterly defeated. Then I turned to my parents and friends. This is the man I trusted, the man I loved, and this is what he did behind my back. I could see their disbelief, their shock, their anger, but most of all, I saw their support for me, the woman he had tried to break. Alex's face was red, a mixture of shame and anger. This isn't fair, he stammered. You're making this. I'm making this. I interrupted, my voice sharp. No, Alex. This is reality. This is what happens when you betray someone who trusted you completely. This is what happens when lies and deception are uncovered. And this is justice. He sat down heavily, defeated, while I stood tall. For the first time in months, I felt free. Free from fear, free from lies, free from the shadow of betrayal that had haunted every corner of my life. But the story didn't end there. The evidence I had uncovered didn't just humiliate him. It ensured that Elena and Alex's plans could not succeed. The fertility clinic, the payments, the legal documents, all of it was exposed. Elena, who thought she could manipulate and deceive alongside him, was left powerless. And Alex. He realized, too late, that his actions had consequences far beyond what he imagined. In the days that followed, the fallout was immense. Friends and family distanced themselves from Alex. Elena disappeared from our lives entirely, and I began the process of reclaiming my life. I changed my routines. I focused on my work, my passions, my future. And slowly, piece by piece, I healed. But more importantly, I learned something crucial. Betrayal can break a heart, but it can also reveal strength you never knew you had. It can uncover a fire, a resilience, and a determination that no lie or deception can ever extinguish. I realized that life doesn't always go as planned. People aren't always who you think they are. And love can be both beautiful and dangerous. But surviving betrayal, facing the truth, and reclaiming your life, that is the ultimate victory. Months later, I found myself sitting in my living room, reflecting on everything that had happened. Alex had moved out, Elena was gone, and I was finally able to breathe without the weight of lies pressing down on me. I had learned to trust again, not blindly, but wisely. I had learned to value myself, my strength, and my voice. And sometimes, late at night, I would think about that moment, the night I discovered the betrayal, the envelope, the evidence, and I would smile, not because of the pain, but because of what I had gained. The truth had been shocking, devastating, and cruel, but in facing it, I had found my power, my courage, and my freedom. Alex had betrayed me, yes, but in uncovering the truth, I discovered something far more important. I had betrayed no one. I had stayed true to myself, true to my instincts, and true to the life I wanted to live. And that made all the difference. Because in the end, betrayal may destroy trust, but it can never destroy the strength of a woman who refuses to be broken. And as for Alex, he learned the hardest lesson of all. Some truths, once uncovered, cannot be hidden. And some betrayals, no matter how carefully planned, have consequences that echo forever. The end.